It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the US of A and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to our first national broadcast of the year, and welcome aboard Port Angeles and Clallam County, tuning in to KONP AM 1450 and FM 101.7 at the northwestern edge of our nation in Washington State. Stations also heard on the beautiful San Juan Islands and even in Victoria on the southern end of Vancouver Island in British Columbia. We are thrilled to have you with us today, whether you're starting the new year with us in America or Canada. Speaking of the new year, I've got to ask, did you make any resolutions about the outdoors? It's not too late if you haven't. It could be something as simple as just getting out more to hunt and fish this year. But I'll tell you this, be specific. If you want to succeed, be specific. Don't just say more. Plan those trips right now. Mark your calendar for days you're going to hunt and fish. Enter some local fishing tournaments. Plan family outings to the lake, the river, the beach, or the woods or the marsh. Or go big. I'm talking about a real adventure. Last year, I enjoyed two of these. Actually, a few more than that, but two really stood out. Thanks to the folks from Pheasants Forever, I was able to scratch my first ever South Dakota hunting trip off my bucket list, and I also got to enjoy some of the best father-son bonding in the world during a fantastic adventure last summer to Sportsman's Cove Lodge in southeast Alaska near Ketchikan. So, what about you? If you're up for a big trip, consider heading to a sportsman show. There's all sorts of outfitters and guides that will be happy to take you on one. The season is kicking off, show season that is, and we'll tell you about a few you may want to attend towards the end of our program, including a few we'll be exhibiting at too. Another resolution to make? Oh, I don't know. How about catching the next world record largemouth bass and earning $100,000 by doing so? John Hale, the owner of Stanley Jigs and Hale Lures out of Texas, is offering you that opportunity this year and will join us in a couple of minutes to tell you more about it. Waterfowl hunting is still going in full swing, especially in our western states and the Pacific Flyway, where it's been a really, really mild winter. Ken Contreras, a pro staff coordinator for Avery Outdoors, will give you the latest Flyway report and share some tips on bagging late-season ducks that will work in any flyway you may be hunting this month. Finally, you might want to make a New Year's resolution to hook into a trophy kokanee, one of the tastiest freshwater fish you'll ever cook on your grill. One person who can help you with that is Washington State fishing guide Austin Moser, and the lake he'll take you to this winter to hook into one or more of these really big kokanee is Lake Roosevelt. So there you go, a whole bunch of resolution possibilities for the new year. And another resolution you might want to make is buying yourself a fishing boat. Our first stop for the new year here with America Outdoors Radio is going to be in Arkansas. That's the home of Vexus Boats. And you're thinking, I've never heard of Vexus Boats before. Well, if you're a bass fisherman, you are going to hear about them. They're a new company, but they are growing in a big way. With us here to tell us more about Vexus Boats is their national sales manager, Ryan Patterson. Ryan, welcome to the show and Happy New Year.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
So, Ryan, I've been paying attention to Vexus as you've grown over the last year. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the story of this new bass boat company?
Certainly. We've actually announced the Vexus brand last December in 2017, and in that time, we've assembled a team that has constructed and now operating in a 120,000 square foot manufacturing plant. At this current time, we've got 95 employees, and with everybody's tenure kind of added together, almost 1,500 years of boat building experience. And in that time, we started, actually moved into our plant on May 1st and have began shipping product on June 1st. And we're manufacturing aluminum bass fishing boats at this time, and then also manufacturing our own trailers. I'm really excited about, the next couple of months. In March, we'll introduce our fiberglass product, which will be manufactured in this same building. So got a lot of exciting stuff coming up here in the next couple of months, but the initial reaction from the market has been very well received with our product, and we're excited to get started in 2019.
There's not a ton of bass boat manufacturers out there, but there are some pretty well-established ones. What is it that separates Vexus Boats from some of the other ones out there?
I think when you look at our aluminum product, and first thing you'll notice when you look at it is we've got stretch form gunnels, and then it gives the boat a kind of a traditional bass boat look. And then when you look at the fiberglass appointments we put in these boats, whether it be a fiberglass console, we've got extremely cavernous fiberglass boxes on the back deck, fiberglass live well. What we really tried to do was take all of the big boat attributes we'd learned throughout our tenure and put those into a package that when you, the consumer, go to the lake, you're not having to compromise of not having something because you're in an aluminum boat. And after experiencing the product and being out on the lake, I think you'll be very surprised at how well these boats handle rough water and how they ride and how they feel, and they're a whole lot of fun to fish out of.
When it comes to price point, what are we looking at in comparison to some of the other brands out there like Phoenix and Ranger?
That's one thing that we're really excited about is, like I was saying, putting all these big boat features into an aluminum package. But take, for instance, we've got an AVX 1980, and that's a 19-foot, 10-inch boat that's going to come with a 150 on the back of it. And that boat's going to come factory rigged and everything from us at $34,000. And then we've actually got a 2080 that's going to have a 200 horsepower motor on the back of it. That's going to start just under 40 at $39,700. So what we're really trying to do is if somebody, say, doesn't want to jump into the fiberglass 20-foot segment that usually starts somewhere around $55,000 to $60,000, we're wanting to offer that consumer a great tournament-ready package that he can take to the lake and is going to, do everything that he needs it to do at a really affordable price and, have some pride of ownership and have a boat that's custom-made for you.
Well, speaking of tournament ready, now I am guessing that you probably have a few bass pros that have been using your boats and have been giving you feedback about what they like and what they don't like about them. Who are some of those pros, and what's some of the feedback you've incorporated into building your boats?
Absolutely. No, in this short, very period of time, with us being new, we've had the opportunity to be very involved in the sale process with our customers. And then, our team here in Flippin, we all tournament fish, so we've all had, the opportunity to experience the product. But I'd say the things that I really feel kind of stick out when we're talking to customers and their feedback is, one is the ride. These boats are going to handle great in rough water. They're extremely responsive. They're fun to drive. The overall fishability, we've got a really large front deck and a huge platform up there so if guys are tournament fishing, there's plenty of room. And then the other thing that I'd say sticks out is just kind of the overall fit and finish. I think when you look at, the way our boats look at on the show or on the water, we take extreme measures to make sure that our paint process and our fit and finish is, top of the line. And we do that every single day. And I think that's something that really sticks out when you see one at the ramp, that you'll notice that, hey, that's a Vexus right there. And I think that's something we're really excited about.
Now, you are a new company. So I know that folks can definitely, head to Arkansas and go to the factory and take a look at what you're doing there. And I know they can go to your website, vexusboats.com. That's VEXUS boats.com. But what about dealerships around the nation? What are some of the bigger dealers that you have so that some of our listeners might be able to head down there? So,
especially where you guys are located in kind of the northwest or the western part of the U.S., we've got Nixon's Marine. They've got a couple different locations in Washington. Going down to California, we've got CNC Marine and Citrus Heights, and then servicing Southern California and Phoenix market right now, we've got Complete Marine. And, the one thing that I'd ask the listeners or any potential customers that are talking to this is on VexusBoats.com, we've got an info tab where you're able to write into the factory, and we'd love to have an opportunity to talk with you a little bit about our product product and get you in touch with your local dealer and answer any questions that you might have on our product. And so we're real excited about that. We've got about 40 dealers right now, and it stretches all the way from Arizona to Lyme, Connecticut, down to Orlando, Florida, and out to Washington. So we've kind of got every market covered right now, and we're excited to grow with our dealers and be able to touch more customers this selling season.
One more market I got to ask you about, that Tennessee, Kentucky market. Any dealers up there?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got Days boat sales in Frankfort, Kentucky, and then as we kind of transition down to Tennessee on the western side of the state, we've got Boat Warehouse in Memphis, and then up there at Paris, Kentucky, we've got Malone's Marine Sales. The Nashville market, we have Clark Marine, and then in Knoxville, Bunch Marine, and then up there in the northeast portion of the state, we've got Watson's Marine there in Bristol. So the state of Tennessee and the state of Kentucky, we've got a great dealer base there that'd be happy to service any of your needs you might need, and guys that are really good at know bass boats and know our product and be happy to take you for a ride in one of these.
That's Vexus Boats, folks. Again, the website, Vexus, Vexus Boats.com. Check them out online. Check them out at one of the dealers we just talked about. They are making a big splash in the bass boat industry in a hurry. Ryan, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight today by visiting backcountryhunters.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The two biggest fishing and hunting shows in the Northwest are taking place courtesy of O'Loughlin Trade Shows. The Washington Sportsman Show is happening January 23rd through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and you won't want to miss the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show either at the Expo Center in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. There will be hundreds of exhibitors and up to 100,000 attendees, along with the seminars and demos from experts there, and you'll find incredible deals too only at these shows. It's the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, January 23rd through the 27th, and the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. They're the biggest and best shows around. We'll see you there. Welcome back to this New Year's edition of America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. I've got to ask, do you have any resolutions for the New Year's? Maybe they involve catching a big fish. Maybe they involve making a lot of money. How about if you combine both of them? One person who can help you with that is John Hale. He's with Stanley Jigs and Hale Lures, and they are offering a $100,000 bounty if you catch the next world record bass this year using one of their lures. John, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
So, John, tell our listeners a little bit more about this. How does it work?
Well, it's really simple. I mean, there's a lot of tournaments and things, big bass tournaments and derbies for just the regular weekend fishermen, but, they all involve a certain amount of expense, get entry fees and all that. And in this one here, the restoration is free, and all it entails is if you already have a Hale Stanley Jigs lures, you're in good shape, or if you go sort of purchase some lures, but that's all that's involved. And then just go fishing, and you catch a big one, and it's weighed and certified, and if it weighs over 22.5, then you've got $100,000.
$100,000, and I'm pretty sure that you're also going to be on a few magazine covers and a whole lot more. So let's talk about this a little bit more. The record was from George Perry. I think, what was it? Back in 1932, 22 pounds, 4 ounces. Does that sound about right?
Correct. And I think the IFGA, for them to recognize a record, it has to be 2 ounces over the current world record. Gotcha.
And that's important because you have to follow those rules, don't you?
That's exactly.
All right. So you have to read the rules, and you can just go to the website. We'll give you that in just a minute to find out more about that. But before we do, let's talk about Stanley Jigs. Let's talk about Hale Lures. We'll start off with Stanley Jigs. what are some of the lures that you think might be ones to use to catch this next world record bass?
Well, Stanley Jigs has been in business for almost 40 years and have actually the most innovative and creative company in the industry when it comes to living rubber and silicone skirted baits, whether it be spinnerbaits or jigs. Basically, if you take a jig, and you can look at anybody's jig or anything in the market, if you take everything away from it that was created and innovated by Stanley Jigs, all you got left is a piece of lead. So you can't find a better jig. So jigs are, they're always known as big lure, big fish baits. So it's always a good bet for catching big fish, but we also make the finest spinnerbait in the world in the Vibra Wedge. We have some different versions of that now, but that features two components that no other spinnerbait ever made has, and because they're mechanical, it makes the bait more efficient, it gives more vibration, and because it gives off more vibration, it catches more fish. And now we've recently added some plastics to the line, and this is where kind of a Hale lure comes in. My brother, Robert Hale, has designed some lures that one of them in particular is definitely a big fish bait, and that's the Mud Puppy. That's a new lure. It's got some distribution, but not a lot. But you can go to our website and see it in action. But it's definitely a big fish lure also. So if I was going to recommend something for the springtime to catch a big fish, it would be one of our Vibra Wedge spinnerbaits, jigs, and a Mud Puppy.
I got to see a video on YouTube of that Mud Puppy. That is a great looking soft plastic lure that I think is going to catch a lot of bass and a lot of big bass. But getting back to Stanley jigs and spinnerbaits, you and I, John, are of an age where when we broke into bass fishing, especially when it comes to late winter, early spring, it was all about jigs, and then come spring, summer, it was all about spinnerbaits. And you seem to see the pros moving away from those tactics, but they still work, and they work really good, don't they?
Yes, right now they're actually catching fish on Sam Rayburn. I know some fishermen we know caught a lot of fish yesterday on a spinnerbait, and they caught quite a few more, up to 7 pounds on a Mud Puppy on Lake Sam Rayburn.
Wow! And
when I say quite a few, I know they caught about 30 in one creek.
So here's my next question for you. I mean, you're down in Texas, and Sam Rayburn Reservoir is a great big bass reservoir. If you had to make some guesses on where this next record bass might come from, what do you think? Is it going to be Texas? Is it going to be out in California, the Delta, or maybe over in Florida where those Florida strain bass get so big?
If I was a betting man, I would say California. Even the Florida strains out there they grow fast, and they grow chunkier. They may not be as long as the actual Florida strain that's grown in Florida, but they generally they have a lot more girth and a lot more weight per inch.
However, having said that, you're going to find big bass everywhere. One other question for you here. Does it have to be caught in the continental United States? Because another place I think of when I think of big bass is Mexico.
It has to be caught north of the border.
All right. So we've got some parameters in terms of how this works. One other question for you. Where can folks buy Stanley Jigs and Hale lures?
A lot of your box stores, Academies, Bass Pro, Dick's, Cabela's, Walmart, and then you have a lot of your independent dealers carry our products. So and if you're in an area and you can't find it readily, you can go online and buy them through our e-store.
And that's my next question, because this is where we need to send people to not only buy lures, but also to register for this contest. What's the website?
It's fishstanley.com.
So the website, folks, is fishstanley.com. That's fishstanley.com. So you can register and take part in this contest where if you catch the next world record bass, using Stanley Jigs or Hale lures, you're going to win $100,000. Now, you have to register first. You can't catch the fish and then register. You've got to register first. But boy, this sounds like a lot of fun. Talk about a great New Year's resolution, catching the next world record bass and making $100,000 in the process. You can do it if you're using Stanley Jigs and Hale lures and if you register to do so. John, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Well, thank you for having us, and Happy New Year to everybody.
We've been telling you about Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska for a while now, and there's a reason. They are the only Alaska lodge we talk about on this show. It's because they're truly Alaska's best lodge. The adventure starts with a float plane ride from Ketchikan, after which you'll get the chance to experience some of the best hospitality, food, and wonderful people you'll ever meet. Wildlife is abundant, from bears and deer to eagles and whales, and let's not forget the reason you're here, the fishing. Halibut, salmon, lingcod, rockfish, true cod, and more. It's all waiting for you in abundance at Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Book your trip today at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Hello, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Shiloh is proud to be celebrating over 40 years of providing you, our valued Shiloh customers, with Shiloh's sincere friendliness, efficient customer service, and clean, comfortable, attractive, non-smoking rooms and suites, all at an affordable price. Shiloh also offers many free amenities like free Wi-Fi and free continental breakfast or hot, full, delicious breakfast at most Shiloh Inns, as well as pools, spas, steam, sauna rooms, exercise fitness facilities, and business centers. And even the kids stay free. And for you dog lovers, Shiloh is very dog friendly. So ask your best friend where he or she wants to stay. Next time you're traveling for business or pleasure, we think you'll get a paws up for Shiloh Inns. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohins.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family owned and proud of it.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight today by visiting backcountryhunters.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Let's talk a little bit of Western State duck hunting. The person we're going to chat with is Kent Contreras. You've heard him on this show before. He is a pro staffer for Avery Outdoors, kind of coordinates all the reports that come in for the Western States. And Avery Outdoors, if you haven't checked out their gear, if you're a waterfowler, you need to. Your first stop is averyoutdoors.com. Kent, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you, John. Great to be here.
Well, Kent, you live in Northeast Washington, and I know you hunt up on the Pend Oreille River. This has been, for those of us who live in Eastern Washington like you and me, a really, really mild winter. You know, usually by this time of year, we've kind of got a frozen wasteland east of the Cascades. This year, not so much.
Yeah, that's right. We've had a really mild year this year, and it just doesn't seem like we're going to get that really good cold snap to, freeze up the river. If it does come, it's going to be a little bit later on, and we'll see what happens then.
So how has that changed hunting for you this season, especially during the month of December and as we're looking at going through January here towards the end of the season?
Being that the weather's been so mild, we've been able to stay hunting on the backwaters that have not frozen up, little ponds and creeks, and it's been really fantastic for the puddle ducks. Looking out into January, I believe those areas are going to be frozen up where we can't use them anymore. We'll have to go back out onto the river, try to keep after the birds on the river.
Have all of those northern birds made it down, or is it mild enough up north in Canada that some of them are still coming?
What I'm seeing here in this part of the state is that we are still getting a few fresh birds coming through. The last little weather push really, it kind of pushed our puddle ducks out, but we have more northerns coming in. The divers are still not here, but I expect that within the next 2 weeks we're going to start seeing those huge rafts, huge flocks of divers coming in. Looking at the weather patterns from the Gulf of Alaska and inland Canada, we should be getting those here within the next 2 weeks, and we'll finish the season off doing some good diver and big goose hunting.
Well, that sounds great. And folks, it's been a good season for a lot of waterfowlers in Washington State. I know a couple of guides I know. Shelby Ross, who operates the Potholes Duck Taxi, has had a great time with the Northerns out at Potholes Reservoir in the basin, and he's still banging away on open water out there. And guide Aaron Patterson, who hunts the North Sound in western Washington, has just been slaying the snow geese. So, Washington State, great place to be hunting this month. Let's move down to Idaho. Let's move down to Oregon. We'll start off in the Boise region. What are you hearing there?
There's still birds down there in Boise. It's taken a lot of scouting, a lot of footwork to get out and find where the birds are, finding some open ground, and doing your homework in that Boise Meridian area. You should be able to capitalize on that and get yourself some birds. Again, do the homework. Get out, scout, and you should be able to pick up some birds. Still some puddle ducks down there, and the geese are moving through, so good luck to the folks down in the Boise area.
Another place that's been having a mild winter this year is western Oregon, the Willamette Valley, all the way from Portland through Salem through to Eugene. I got a good friend of mine, Troy Rodakowski, who's been hunting religiously. He says it's been interesting because it's been so mild. What are the reports you're hearing from the Willamette Valley?
I'm hearing good reports. A lot of cacklers have moved into the area. Folks are banging away on those and pulling limits. They're still seeing a lot of the puddle ducks, pintail, mallards, gadwalls working through there. So fantastic hunting on the west side of Oregon, and I'm believing that that's going to remain the same for the rest of the season until we get those really cold pushes to get the birds out.
All right, let's hop over the border into California. When I think late season hunting, I always think about hunting rice fields, flooded rice fields in California. Should I still be thinking that?
Oh yeah, they're having a great season down there right now. Thousands and thousands of snow geese and specks working their way through the San Joaquin Delta, the rice field, the refuges down there. They're seeing lots and lots of birds down there, and all the reports I'm hearing are great. Folks are bringing birds home daily, so they're having a very good season down there.
And last but not least, I know that you have a pro staffer near Fallon, Nevada. Now, most people don't think of Nevada as much of a duck hunting area, but he seems to do pretty well down there.
Oh, yeah. Our pro staff down there, they do the homework. Again, they're out scouting, finding VX, and very successful hunts down there. The weather really hasn't hit them too hard. They just got some ice covering up some of the shallow areas. Still no snow in the valley floor, but they continue to bring home birds every day that they're out. So again, the big word for the folks out there is to scout, find the areas that the birds want to be in, and they'll be successful.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to Kent Contreras with Avery Outdoors. He pro staffs for him. And if you're looking for some great gear, go to averyoutdoors.com. Let's talk about a couple of tips that we can give hunters for this late season hunting. Now, when it comes to duck calling and goose calling this time of year, these birds, especially these northerns, they've heard it all. So is more better or less better, especially in this situation where we've got a lot of open water we're working with?
Right now, John, I tell folks, stay off the calls as much as possible. They've heard it, like you said. they've seen it, and if the birds want to come into your area, they'll come in. If it's not trying to entice them with a call, they've heard it, and they're just going to shy away from those areas and try to find a little area that they can rest either by themselves or with some real birds that aren't making that noise. The geese are, again, about the same. They've heard the calls. Unless you're in an area that has a lot of food and they really want to get in there, they'll probably avoid any calling tactics that you have. Again, find that X, and then you'll get the birds. But the calling, I tell folks right now, just kind of stay off of them. If they fly away from you, give them a couple of hail calls. Try to get them interested to come back. If they spin and they come back towards you, lay off the call, let them see the decoys in your spread, and if they're interested, they'll come in. If not, and they fly away again, give them a couple more hail calls and try to entice them back into your area.
All right, one more question I've got to ask you is this. These ducks, and we're going to just stick with ducks for this question, not geese. They got a lot more feathers. They got a lot more fat. They're a little bit harder to bring down. Steel shot is the norm for waterfowl hunting. What is your favorite steel shot to use when it comes to these late season ducks?
Pretty much, John, for the whole season, I'm running heavy metal number 2s. They're a very good shell, 1,500 feet per second. They carry the punch that you need. Just it's a higher end shell, a little bit more expensive, but when it comes to getting birds, I've been shooting heavy metal for 10 years now at least, and it gets the job done.
Well, there you go, folks. There's some great late season waterfowl hunting advice, along with a wonderful report covering the entire western U.S. about waterfowl hunting. As you just heard, it's been a mild temperature season, but it's been a very good one, and it's not over yet. So get out there if you can. And if you're looking for gear for this last part of the season, go to AveryOutdoors.com. Kent, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John. Happy New Year.
If you fly fish or would like to learn how, be at the Linwood Fly Fishing Show February 16th and 17th in the Linwood Convention Center. Hourly seminars, casting with Gary Borger, Brian O'Keefe, and Phil Rowley. Fabulous fly tires, exotic destinations, and new tackle from all the manufacturers. It's all going to be there for you at the Linwood Fly Fishing Show. Find out online at flyfishingshow.com. See you at the Linwood Fly Fishing Show February 16th and 17th.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
We've been telling you about Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska for a while now, and there's a reason. They are the only Alaska lodge we talk about in this show. It's because they're truly Alaska's best lodge. The adventure starts with a float plane ride from Ketchikan, after which you'll get the chance to experience some of the best hospitality, food, and wonderful people you'll ever meet. Wildlife is abundant, from bears and deer to eagles and whales, and let's not forget the reason you're here, the fishing. Halibut, salmon, lingcod, rockfish, true cod, and more. It's all waiting for you in abundance at Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Book your trip today at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
There's a place where the fishing is year-round, where the sun shines 300 days a year. The wineries and breweries are right downtown. The hiking and cycling offer spectacular views you just don't get in the big cities. Fortunately, the place is real and vibrant. It's the Dalles, Oregon, just 90 short minutes from Portland, along the gorgeous Columbia River, where the adventures are limited only by your imagination. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Schuler Productions has 3 great shows coming your way in 2019. It all kicks off at the track in Pasco, January 18th through the 20th, with the Tri-City Sportsman Show. The long-running Central Washington Sportsman Show is back at the Sundome in Yakima, February 15th through the 17th. And don't forget the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show, February 22nd through the 24th at the Town Toyota Center. With seminars for adults, activities for the kids, and lots of things to see, these shows are sure to be fun for the whole family. Find out more at SchulerProductions.com.
The 2 biggest fishing and hunting shows in the Northwest are taking place courtesy of O'Loughlin Trade Shows. The Washington Sportsman Show is happening January 23rd through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and you won't want to miss the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show either at the Expo Center in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. There will be hundreds of exhibitors and up to 100,000 attendees, along with the seminars and demos from experts there, and you'll find incredible deals too, only at these shows. It's the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, January 23rd through the 27th, and the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland, February 6th through the 10th. They're the biggest and best shows around. We'll see you there. Next up on this first of the year edition of America Outdoors Radio, we want to tell you about a fish that if you haven't caught and eaten one before, you're missing out. It's called the Kokanee. It's a landlocked salmon. It's found primarily in the western United States, and there is a guide I know who is very good at catching big kokanee. His name is Austin Moser. He's based in Washington State. He's the owner of Austin's Northwest Adventures. Austin, great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John.
So, Austin, let's talk a little bit about kokanee and why they are so prized by anglers in the western U.S. Because we've got listeners in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, who've probably never seen or heard of a kokanee before. Why do you love targeting these fish?
Well, the kokanee is a landlocked sockeye salmon. So right there, they're just great eating fish, high fat content in them. It's like catching a sockeye in the ocean, but you're fishing in a lake and they are landlocked. So these fish, they pull hard, they fight good, and they taste great. And that is the big draw for a lot of people. It's fast action. When you get on the fish, they run in big schools. You'll have doubles, triples, a lot of fish biting, and they're very aggressive fish. So it's an explosive bite, and it's a lot of fun. So, and it's great in the wintertime when there's not a lot of other things going on for people. So kokanee fishing is a big deal in the Northwest.
It really is a big deal, but there's kokanee and there's big kokanee, and I guess we need to talk about that. I remember the first kokanee that I used to catch. They were like the 7 to 9 inch variety, and there's a lot of lakes that still have that size of kokanee, but you like to go after the bigger ones, and you like to go to a place called Lake Roosevelt in eastern Washington. How big are the kokanee there?
Well, Lake Roosevelt in eastern Washington has the state record for Washington, and that fish was 6 1/4 pounds. I think it was around 29 inches. I'm not exactly sure on the length, but that's about right. 6 1/4 pounds is a huge kokanee. They don't come big like that in very many places in the world. And so the average right now for me has been 18 to 22 inches probably, and on the bigger side, 24, 25-inch fish, which is in that 3 pound range for a large fish, and all the way up to 5 pounds when you get into the more summer months as they grow. As the year progresses, they start getting bigger and bigger as the feed gets more and more. So, those are big fish. Most of the lakes around here, you're running, like you said, smaller, definitely. I think Lake Chelan, they're 12 inches up there right now. So it's an awesome fish if you can get out there and catch them, and people get real excited about those fish up there. I refer to them as trophy kokanee.
If you're catching them that big, those are monster landlocked salmon, and folks, they do taste fantastic, especially off the grill. Well, let's talk about where and how you're catching them, though, because Lake Roosevelt, for our listeners that are in the Northwest that are familiar with this body of water, it's an impoundment of the Columbia River. It's over 100 miles long, and a lot of anglers are thinking, well, where do I start? So we'll ask you, where do you start this time of year?
So I start in the lower third of the lake. I start out in Keller Ferry, Spring Canyon area, and as they go throughout the year in the wintertime, they start drawing down the lake. They let out all that water for the runoff from Canada, and as they do that, it draws all the bait and the phytoplankton and the daphnia down to the lower end of the lake. And what that does is it draws in those fish. Lake Roosevelt's 155 miles long, and targeting those fish in the whole lake is kind of tough. So when they draw the lake down, it congregates those fish in that lower part of the lake from Keller Ferry to Spring Canyon and down to the dam. And so that's where I target them throughout the winter months.
All right, so now that we know where to go, let's talk about Kokanee Catching 101. You're trolling for them, but exactly what are you doing in terms of depth and what's behind the rod that's getting them to bite?
Yeah, so when I'm trolling this time of year, those fish are feeding on the surface. So I'm just running flatlined lures, basically just your standard Kokanee type of rigs, which is a dodger, which creates action for the lure. And the lure is generally some sort of a squid type spinner with shoe peg corn on it. This time of year, they're in the top 15 feet of the water column, so I'm not using downriggers like I would in the summer months as the fish go deeper. So we're just running anywhere from a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce of lead on the main line to our dodger and our lure. And we let them out quite a ways because those fish are on the surface. They spook from the boat. So you drive through them and it kind of wedges them and they go out and around the boat. And then they swing back in behind the boat to whatever food source or whatever's drawing them into that area. And then your bait comes trolling right through them. So I'm running 170 feet back to 150 feet back on my line that I pay out to the lure from the boat. So far back with a lot of flash and some great sense on my corns.
Fascinating stuff. We are running out of time, but if people want to book a trophy Kokanee fishing trip with you at Lake Roosevelt this winter, how do they get a hold of you to do so?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's austonsnorthwestadventures.com, or you can call my phone, 509-668-0298.
That phone number again is 509-668-0298. That's 509-668-0298. Or just go to austonsnorthwestadventures.com. Austin's a great guy, wonderful person to spend time with, and he's very good at what he does. That's austonsnorthwestadventures.com. Austin, Happy New Year, and thanks for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. Happy New Year.
Turning our attention to Sportsman Show season, as promised, there's a whole bunch of them going on and a lot of big ones, too. We'll start off with the 42nd Annual International Sportsman's Expo happening at the Colorado Convention Center in Denver later this week, kicking off the 10th and running through the 13th. The following week, ISE will be pulling up their stakes in Colorado and heading to the Cal Expo in Sacramento for a really big show going on there from the 17th through the 20th. Right after that is SHOT Show at the Sands Expo Center in Las Vegas. This is a trade show and not open to the public, but 65,000 members or so of the outdoors, law enforcement, and firearms industry will be there from the 22nd through the 25th. A lot of other folks, myself included, will be at the Washington Sportsman Show that same week. This one kicks off on Wednesday the 23rd and runs through the 27th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, just a short drive from Seattle and our affiliate station there, 950 KJR. If you're a fly angler, you'll want to attend the Traveling Fly Fishing Show with stops in Denver this weekend, in Atlanta, February 1st and the 2nd, and in Linwood, Washington, the 16th and 17th. Last but not least are the two biggest sportsman shows in the nation. The biggest one of them all, billed as the biggest outdoor show in the world, is the Great American Outdoor Show presented by the NRA. This one's going on February 2nd through the 10th at the Pennsylvania Farm Complex in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. If you're on the West Coast and can't make it to Pennsylvania, don't worry. The second biggest show in the nation is going on around the same time at the Expo Center in Portland. It's the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show. It's being put on by O'Loughlin Trade Shows February 6th through the 10th, and we'll be proud to be exhibiting there again this year too, and hope you'll drop by our booth to chat with us about the show, fishing, hunting, or anything else. And don't forget to sign up for a chance to win a $100 gift certificate from Max Lure Company. Now that you know a few shows to go to, I'm afraid we've got to wrap up our first show of 2019. But don't worry, I suspect we've got about 51 more editions of America Outdoors Radio to come before this year's over. If you listen to our show online, you can catch us every Saturday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time on TalkAmericaRadio.us, the conservative voice of talk radio. And if you didn't catch all of this show or just want to catch past episodes, you'll find podcasts of both America Outdoors Radio and our regional show, Northwestern Outdoors, through Stitcher, Podbean, and YouTube. Be sure to like and follow our Facebook page too. And if you want a preview of what's coming up on this program or find links to hook up with our sponsors, go to AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it is a new year, and I hope your dreams for it when it comes to outdoors adventure and fishing and hunting are big ones indeed. Here's hoping you're blessed in the week and the year ahead, and that you get to spend a good portion of it having fun on the water, in the woods, or in the field. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors, so get out there this year and enjoy it.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing through education and work on behalf of public lands and waters. Lend your voice to the fight today by visiting backcountryhunters.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.